16 teams enter the Super Regional Weekend with aspirations of Omaha. Only 8 will advance, 4 of them being SEC teams with high hopes of getting back to the promised land and hoisting the trophy for the conference once again. We are here previewing and predicting all 8 of the Super Regionals this weekend, including the 3 featuring SEC teams. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the WINDUP SEC Unfiltered bi-weekly college baseball show, the best college baseball show on the internet. I am Chris Phillips. He is Harrison Fant. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are powered by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. It's Super Regional Weekend, and that means tickets to Omaha are officially on the line. 4 SEC teams, Tennessee, Arkansas, LSU, and Auburn, all with hopes of punching their ticket. And there's a number of others across college baseball as well that will do battle on the diamond for that same honor. Again, we are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down each of the 8 Super Regionals this weekend with, of course, a focus on the SEC teams that are looking to get back to the middle of America and compete for the most heralded trophy in college baseball. Once again, guys, this is the WINDUP SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly college baseball show, the best college baseball show on the internet. I am Chris Phillips. Joining me, as he always does, my good friend, once again, Harrison Fant. Harrison, appreciate you taking the time, my friend. Excited to have you on and excited to talk some Super Regional baseball as we gear up for the trip to Omaha.
Yeah, we're 1 week away from being in the mecca of college baseball, Omaha, Nebraska, for the College World Series, our second trip back after an unbelievable first experience there last year. 16 teams, only 8 will be able to say they made it to the World Series this year. I'm stoked to find out who it is and stoked to watch it, especially after how regional weekend went, even though it wasn't the best weekend for SEC. It's just unbelievable weekend for college baseball as a whole. And I mean, no better weekend to start watching college baseball than last weekend. Unless you're a diehard like us. So I'm excited for it, Chris, and we're going to get some incredibly great matchups this week in the Supers.
Yeah, Harrison, a couple of things. Like you mentioned, what's crazy to think about as we sit here on this Thursday, June the 5th, a week from today, you and I will be doing the wind-up, but we'll be in a different location. And we'll be together once again in Omaha, Nebraska. I mean, it's crazy. I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, we leave next week. Like, you know when it is, and it's on your calendar, but it still finds a way to sneak up on you. And you also think, too, Harrison, what you said is we prepare to break down these Super Regionals. Last week at this time, we were talking 13 regionals that featured SEC teams. This weekend, just 3 Supers. So it is a much different looking schedule. As we talked about on Monday or Tuesday, I should say, there was a lot of bloodshed. There was a lot of SEC teams that were sent home packing, but we do have 4 SEC teams fighting for the right to go to Omaha. The SEC still can get 3 in the College World Series, which, funny enough, Harrison, we had 4 last year, so I feel like we're kind of spoiled at this point where it's like, well, we don't get half the field. What do you mean? Either way, still a great opportunity for the conference to put some of the best teams in college baseball in the field and have some great contestants who have a great shot at winning a national championship. So,
yeah. And Chris, we knew that with 13 teams that we weren't going to get 10 to 12 to 13 of them in Supers. It's just not possible. It's not likely. And we knew there was some that we expected to lose or, expected not to make it out of the regional and that we picked not to as well. But, obviously a little bit less than we had hoped for and expecting the Supers here. But nonetheless, SEC road to Omaha continues.
And some great matchups to break down, Harrison. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive into it. Again, we're talking all 8 of the Super Regional Showdowns. But we're going to start with the 3 SEC contests because that's why you guys are here. This is SEC Unfiltered. We're talking SEC baseball. And Harrison, I want to start this thing off with a bang. The biggest Super Regional of the weekend. You can't even call me biased here because bottom line, it is the Fayetteville Super Regional, where the Arkansas Razorbacks and the Tennessee Volunteers will get set to do battle. Pick your storyline, Harrison. It's Tony Vitello against Dave Van Horn. It's Tennessee looking to go back-to-back. It's Arkansas looking to win their first title in school history. It's Tennessee looking for 3 straight Omaha appearances after their 5th straight super regional appearance. Harrison, it's Arkansas looking for their first Omaha appearance since 2022. It's the Hog Pen. It's SEC baseball at its finest. It's a rematch from just a few weeks ago. Harrison, your thoughts on the weekend? Who are you picking? I mean, again, I'm fired up for this one. I know you are as well. This is going to be as good as it gets on the super regional weekend with everything on the line.
Yeah, I mean, just 2 pedigree programs. Yes, Arkansas hasn't won a national championship yet. I believe they will. Can they do it this year? Absolutely. Is this their year? We're going to find out. But the defending national champions under coach Tony Vitello, 2 of the best head coaches in the game with Dave Van Horn and Tony Vitello. Obviously, the connection of coaching trees there around college baseball, but specifically with Dave Van Horn, his coaching tree of a lot of coaches that, are prominent in the game right now. And Tony Vitello is one of, if not the most prominent one that came from the Dave Van Horn kind of coaching tree during his time at Arkansas, where he was before he ended up, on his journey to where he is now landing at Tennessee, and, learned a lot there, learned a lot through his experience and, coaching with Dave Van Horn. So going to be so much fun to kind of watch this in a super regional format, which we already got in our season, like you said, with what felt like, honestly, postseason baseball then. And it was postseason kind of desperation for Tennessee in some regards too. But I think this just takes it to a whole new level. And yes, Tennessee's playing on the road. Yes, they haven't played great at home. They did in the regional and won that regional in Game 7. But, as much as they love to play at home, I don't think they mind playing on the road. You're going to go be playing in one of the toughest, if not probably one of the toughest environments in college baseball, in Baum Walker Stadium, in front of the Hog Pen, and the rowdy fans the Razorbacks are. I mean, and one of the best fan bases in college baseball for sure. You're going to get best on best because this is a team full of elite prospects on both sides of the ball, on both teams. And it's going to be who steps up in the moments that matter and who has the clutch hits, the clutch pitches, the clutch defensive plays, like Hunter Inslee running into and through walls, avoiding tags, a big strikeout. If you have Liam Doyle did in the regional, coming out of the bullpen and just shutting the door, or Andrew Fisher hyping up the crowd. Yes, they're playing on the road now, but just the monstrosity that he is and just consistent on base. I mean, it's unbelievable. He's been on base every single game this season and 3 games ending last season. So it's just unbelievable kind of in that regard. The talent on both sides of the ball for both teams is the best level in the country. Hard to find better across the board. And can they play to the best of their abilities and do so on the road at Arkansas, a team that we've said, Chris, throughout the past several weeks and maybe a month and a half now, that we think Arkansas is one of, if not the most complete team, probably the most complete team top to bottom in aspects of everything that goes into a program and that plays on the field. And it's rightfully so. I mean, the statistics back it up. We think that's just the deepest kind of in all regards and all facets. And they've gone out and proved that. It feels like, yes, they didn't win the SEC, but just deeper than Texas, who did win the SEC regular season, deeper than Vanderbilt, who was obviously not in the postseason after winning the SEC tournament. But can Tennessee continue to play the level in which they have been playing in the regional after coming off such a slow downhill turn to the end of the regular season for them that was just unbelievably no one expected, right? And you look at the statistics, Chris, they match up across the board in home runs, average, OPS, WRC pluses, 165 and 166. I mean, it's that they're all top 5. I mean, it's just unbelievable. The bullpens, obviously the last 10 games, I mean, just so neck and neck. It feels like in every regard, the last 10 games batting is just so neck and neck, 299 and 299 batting average. I mean, how can you get more tight than this? And feels like a coin flip in this game. It really does in this series because the level of ball Tennessee can play, and whether they play that or not, I mean, they're doing so at the right time right now. So it's like, can they continue to keep that momentum going? Arkansas, can they continue to play at the high level we've seen them play, and maybe, less dramatic kind of regional than other regionals, especially Tennessee's, but can they overcome the pressure of getting back to Omaha and playing at home after, the last few years, how they've gone, especially last season? Can they beat Tennessee again? Can they do so on this stage that can send them back to Omaha, the defending national champions? Can they overcome that adversity?
Harrison, not to cut you off, I do want to ask you this though on your point. These teams played a few weeks ago. Arkansas, for those that may not remember, 1, 2 of 3. The way that happened, they lost game 1 to Marcus Phillips.
Yeah.
Beat Liam Doyle in game 2. They touched him up a good little bit.
Yep.
And then won game 3. Does that factor in for you at all when you're looking at this weekend? And by the way, a quick reminder, Saturday, Sunday, Monday if necessary. We only have one that is the traditional Friday, Saturday, Sunday if necessary. That's Auburn. We'll get to in a bit. But Saturday, Sunday if necessary. So you also think about the fact that Liam Doyle threw on Monday, but the weekend doesn't start till Saturday. Do they do Marcus Phillips again, pitching game 1, thinking that maybe they could steal game 1 again? How much does all that factor in when you think about this weekend?
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going.
It's a chess match. This is a chess match.
It's not it's chess. It's not checkers. And Dave Van Horn and Tony Vitello are two of the best head coaches in the country at doing that. Not that others aren't. There's a lot of really good head coaches that are really good at doing that, but there are two that are facing off head to head that, have been on the stage before, have been to Omaha before, have, played for national championships before, and Tony Vitello winning one, obviously, and doing so last season. And can they continue that chess match? And, they know their team's better than anyone, better than any player on the team, better than any fan, better than any, person in the athletic department, anyone. And it's, can they push the right buttons and pull the right strings at the right time and do so, especially with how, Liam Doyle comes to the pin, like I mentioned, it slams the door, like that kind of rest recovery. It is the postseason, obviously, you got that adrenaline going, I feel like, but you do get a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, which I definitely wanted to mention, versus a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think that helps them out a lot, gives them a little bit more time to rest and recover, and a little bit more creative flexibility, I guess, in a sense. But obviously, it's going to be kind of very case by case, and by I mean that person to person, athlete to athlete, recovery wise. But with all that being said and done, Chris, I'm riding with the home team. I'm riding with the Arkansas Razorbacks on the facet of it being at home. A lot less stressful regional in a sense that it didn't feel as taxing on them across the board. You're not, as off, it feels like, as Tennessee, just pitching wise, and you were playing that extra game, and just like I said, it's a coin flip. But I'm just leaning Arkansas getting over the hump, the higher floor in the consistency of which they play and doing so at home. I mean, they're one of the best teams in the country at playing at home. We know that, and just how comfortable and confident they do at home. And it wouldn't surprise me if Tennessee went in there and won the series, but I'm riding with just the knowns, they're playing at home, the head-to-head matchups we've seen. And yes, it's a little bit different being postseason, but it is the same. They've seen them before. They can make some adjustments, and so can Tennessee. But I just feel like that Arkansas is going to make the necessary adjustments and come in clutch just a little bit more, playing at home, to overcome Tennessee and in Tennessee's route to defending their national championship season and title, and send Arkansas back to Omaha where they can compete and win their first College World Series championship potentially.
Harrison, do you think the pressure plays into this weekend at all, from the standpoint of, and I'm not saying obviously Tony Vitello and his club, they're, you try not to put pressure on yourself, but they're all competitors. They want to go back to back. This team wants to win it all. But can we agree there's more pressure on Arkansas than there is Tennessee this weekend? I mean, Tennessee, you won the national championship last year.
No.
Arkansas is trying to go for their very first, and this is kind of the point they get to every year where they fall short. I mean, maybe that's more of a fan base thing.
More of a fan base thing, Chris. And we've said this is, this is probably his most talented team, David Horns, and we've had SEC coaches tell us that directly. And I think there's an even amount of pressure on both teams in different aspects. Tennessee, can they defend that national championship? With a lot of new pieces. Tony Vitello, kind of people are still doubting him, it feels like, which is just unbelievable to me. Can they go do it on the road? Which is especially how the ups and downs this season has been. Can they overcome Arkansas after the conference series that they played at Arkansas earlier in the year? This team that people are saying is so much more complete and so much more, put together, and has less up and downs and dramatics kind of emotions throughout the year. But then you have Arkansas is like, can they get over the hump? Can Dave Van Horn and Arkansas both win their first national championship? Can they overcome and defeat the defending national champions and the hottest coach in college baseball, in Tony Vitello? I think there's an even amount of pressure on both sides, and they're playing at home, Chris. So
fair enough. There's pressure for different reasons on both sides.
Both fan bases are putting pressure on.
Well, and I think Arkansas fans, again, I'm already hearing Arkansas fans just talk about, like, they're looking at the field and kind of doing the math and like, man, this really sets up well for I just look at a program. Arkansas is trying to break through. Tennessee, they've had their breakthrough, and they're not playing with house money, but they kind of know they can do it. Arkansas, I think, is hoping they can do it right now. How does that factor in the weekend? I have no idea, because at the end of the day, you and I both know it comes down to execution, and the emotions will be high, but it's about, who's going to play better baseball, play good defense, pitch well, timely hitting, all that good stuff. In regards to the weekend, what's interesting about this, Harrison, I'm sure you've seen the clip floating around. Tony Vitello himself, as an assistant, talked about how hard it was to win at the Hog Pen. He talked about how hard it was to win at Baum Walker. It was a young Tony Vitello.
He said, I feel bad for anyone that has to come play here.
Yeah, it's typically when you go in there, it's a losing battle, I think was kind of what he said or thereabout. And you're right. We've talked all season. I've talked all season. I think Arkansas, maybe the most complete team in college baseball. They have very few weaknesses. Not that they can't be beat, because obviously they were this season a few times. But, just starting rotation, bullpen, 1 through 9, their bench. They got a legendary coach. They play good defense, a great home field advantage. There's just not many chinks in the armor there. So when I look at this weekend, Harrison, I've got an Arkansas team that I agree with you. The floor is higher, a little bit more of a known commodity. I got a Tennessee team that's a little bit more reckless, a little bit more, I don't know what I'm going to get, really, truly, on a week-in, week-out basis. I was encouraged by what I saw in the Knoxville Regional. I thought Tennessee played much better baseball. I think last weekend, we've talked so much about the emotions this season, Harrison. We've made such a point of that. Maybe at times even too much, I'll admit. But what you saw last weekend was when things are going well, and Tennessee's using that emotion in a positive way to fuel them and go on to victory, I think they're probably the most fun team to watch in college baseball. That being said, going into Baum Walker, the atmosphere is going to be unlike any other you've ever seen in college baseball. I think Alex Box, probably the only other venue that can really rival it. But Baum Walker is going to be a complete madhouse. They know what's on the line. Yes, there's pressure on Arkansas, but I think they understand, hey, and you look at Arkansas baseball, Harrison, every 3 or so years, they're in this cycle. They go back to Omaha. And it's been 3 years, 2022, last time they went. But Harrison, there's some irony in this weekend, for yours truly especially, because it was a few weeks ago when Arkansas won the Game 3 against Tennessee, and I went on record and said that you could essentially kiss Tennessee's hosting chances goodbye. That's what I said. Kiss them goodbye. They're over. Tennessee had lost 6 of the last 7 series to close out the regular season. It looked like their chances at hosting were dead. They fight back in Hoover. They get a host. I pick against Tennessee in the Knoxville Regional. Takes them till Monday, but they get the job done.
Good pick.
Harrison, it's time for me to stop doubting Tony Vitello. It's time for me to stop doubting the Vols. Yes, they lost this series in the regular season. And I think actually both sides can draw some confidence from that, as weird as that sounds. Because if you're Tennessee, you look at it and say, dude, we went in there and beat them. Marcus Phillips is very good, but he's not their ace. We went in there and beat you without our ace. We were up 1-0. They might look at it like, man, we really let that get away. We should have won that series. Yeah. Arkansas, on the flip side, of course, is like, hey, we lost game 1 and we still beat you and we still won the series. So I think both can spin it in their own way. But I think this is a completely separate thing. It's time for me to stop doubting Tony Vitello and Tennessee baseball. Everything they've done at this point, it really doesn't matter all that much. The fact of the matter is this: Tennessee wins in June and they go to Omaha. That's just what they do. And unfortunately, and I say this with love to all of our Arkansas folks, this is typically the time of the year where the Hogs piss down their leg. And I think it'll be a great series. I think it'll go to 3 games. I think we're going to get a Monday showdown. I think Tennessee just somehow, some way, on the road, backs against the wall, emotional series. Tennessee's starting to play their best baseball. They find a way to go into Baum Walker, take 2 of 3, and punch their ticket to Omaha once again, looking to defend and go back-to-back national titles. So I think they find a way. And again, I've doubted Tennessee so much, especially over the last month or so. But in the month of June, Tony Vitello in Tennessee, they flip a switch. They flip a switch. There's something about postseason baseball that brings out the best in Tony, in that team, and in that program, and in that fan base. I think it's on full display this week, and I think the Vols just find a way to get it done. And out an Arkansas team that I agree with you is one of the best in the country, but I just see them some clutch knock. I think here's the thing, too. Game 1 is of utmost importance because here's the thing, Harrison, and I don't know when Liam Doyle goes, but I don't see Tennessee getting up 1-0 again and losing. I don't see it. I don't see it. Does getting to Game 3 scare me from the Tennessee perspective? Yes, because they've been so shaky, but whether it's in 2 games, whether they do find a way in a third, I think they can find a way in a third game. And again, poetic justice and what irony, Harrison, it would be if they did win a third game to actually go to Omaha. So yeah. I'm going to ride with Tennessee. Arkansas is a great pick. It's a coin flip. I mean,
it really is a coin flip, Chris. It would not surprise me. And I'm not doubting Tony Vitello by picking Arkansas here. I mean, he is one of the best postseason coaches since he's kind of came up since 2020, honestly. I think he's been to Omaha. Is it more than Dave Van Horn since 2020? I mean, I think they've had better teams overall the last 5 years than Arkansas has had. And it's not a knock on Tennessee in doing it because it would not surprise me in the slightest bit. It's just the pick's not personal. I mean, I think Tennessee fans know I love watching Tennessee play. I love Tony Vitello, the way he coaches, who he is, and argue that if you want. I mean, I think Dave Van Horn's a phenomenal head coach, just an old school classic guy that's played the game and coached the game the right way and, built the program from the ground up, it feels like. And, you got to make a pick. And I'm just riding with the home team here. I think that's just going to be the edge and the difference in, a clutch hit or an extra base hit. And just, we'll see. I'm curious to see how much, base stealing Arkansas does too, and how much taking advantage of that and, Tennessee's defense.
It's going to be a fun weekend in Fayetteville, no doubt. You're going Arkansas. I'm going Tennessee. Flip a coin, see what happens. Just sit back, relax, and grab your popcorn because it's going to be an electric weekend down there.
Oh, yeah.
At Baum Walker. Harrison, let's go to the Baton Rouge Super Regional. The LSU Tigers and the West Virginia Mountaineers who come out of the Clemson Regional. A little bit of an unexpected matchup, but if you watch that regional, that West Virginia club, really, really good. Again, LSU, Harrison, we know it took them to Monday night to take down Little Rock. They were down 5-1 in that game, but of course come back. Case and Evans with a legacy outing. Ethan Fry seeing a beach ball. Luis Hernandez, it's a pair of homers. And Bear Jones, the Bear, comes out of hibernation and puts the exclamation point on that one. So LSU looking to punch their ticket, go back to Omaha. First time since 2023 when, of course, they won the national title with Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz, and that group. West Virginia looking to come into Alex Box and play spoiler. Harrison, again, I don't know that it's the matchup we were expecting, but this one could get really, really fun. Once again, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, if necessary. This West Virginia team, for those that did not watch them in the Clemson Regional, it's a really scrappy club, really, really blue collar. They get after it. They're going to pressure LSU. They're going to take it to them. Will the Tigers have a response? Your thoughts on the Baton Rouge Super, LSU, West Virginia, who's going to Omaha?
Yeah, I definitely think this is going to be a slept-on Super Regional just from the facet of, people don't think of West Virginia as, a postseason ball club as much, an Omaha caliber ball club. They were in a Super last year. I mean, what Steve Saban's has done at West Virginia, I think, has been quieter than what it should be. It should be, more appreciated. And I think it's going to go to a Game 3 for sure. And I don't think LSU fans are going to like hearing that or agree with that. But, I mean, West Virginia is the real deal. I think they're a really good ball club. I said how good they were when it came to playing on the road. I mean, and you look at their record, Chris, on the road. I said it going into the regional at Clemson be a tough draw. I mean, they're 24-5 on the road. It's better than their home record of 17-7. 44-win ball club, 14 losses, 5 losses on the road. I know, obviously, you're not playing in the SEC, but we're going to say that. Murray State didn't play in the SEC either. They just beat, the ACC regular season champion and then Ole Miss, a host in the SEC, that went to the SEC tournament finals after beating this LSU team, right? Obviously, you can create some direction storylines if you want, but I think that, it's going to come down to, and we've talked about it a bunch, not the clutchness for LSU because they have that, especially playing at home, but it's just, I think, hitting lefties and just the offensive inconsistencies compared to other teams, right? And West Virginia has a really good lefty arm that I think is going to be undervalued a good bit in Griffin Kern. I mean, he's a really kind of more crafty arm that has, velo too. He's someone that I think I could see LSU struggling with a bit. And he's pitched really well this season in 16 starts with a 3.13 ERA, a sub 1.2 WHIP in 95 innings, 100 strikeouts. He's a really good guy that can, hold down a lot of innings and give them a quality outing after quality outing after quality outing. And I think the rotation as a whole is really good. And right behind him, you got, Jack Carstanas, a righty pitcher who's also very good. That's going to, give LSU some trouble. It's just, can they produce enough offense? Because it's so easy to go the well, like every LSU fan, it feels like, does, and talks about Cade Anderson, Anthony Einstein. We talk about it enough as it is ourselves because it is the best 1-2 punch in the country on the mound. But it's, can the offense produce enough to support that? And we've seen, Little Rock get to LSU's pitching staff. We've seen Little Rock, quiet down LSU's offense too. And it's just one of those things that I think LSU fans are a little bit more worried, or should be more worried than they are. But you're playing at home, Chris. You're playing at Alice Box, one of, if not the best, maybe the most rowdy venue in college baseball, especially, Chris, when this game starts getting closer to midnight, ticking after midnight. It's just like, it's like playing in a fourth dimension in Alex Box Stadium after midnight. And we know how that ends up. And LSU has one of the best head coaches in the country that knows his team better than anyone that follows or watches or covers LSU baseball. Knows how to, he's a surgeon of a head coach, getting the best out of his guys and making the right moves at the right time. We've seen it with countless players in pitch hitting roles and just the right moves of the bullpen and the right times leading guys in, and the defense of how good LSU's defense is. I'm riding all those things in the postseason for LSU with Jay Johnson at home. There's just something special and magical about playing the box and the surgeon that he is as a head coach. I'm riding the hot hand there. Just, it's going to be an unbelievably ruckus and electric atmosphere. There's going to be no noise complaints because everyone in Baton Rouge is going to be at the game. It's going to be something that I don't think West Virginia is maybe seen as much. Closest thing probably is Clemson, if I had to guess, just from, having experienced the postseason at Clemson at DKS, Doug Kingsmore Stadium. But man, I just think it's going to be such a fun series that people are going to overlook because of other headline series. But it's all going to come down to LSU having enough clutch offense throughout the game, not just in the 8th, 9th inning when it matters most against, a bullpen, but doing so with that and, limiting Sam White and Kyle West, two of the best hitters for West Virginia. And it's going to be so much fun to watch. But I got LSU pulling out in game 3 and just not going to say pulling away, but man, it's going to be fun to watch and excited to watch it and wish I was there for it, Chris. But man, I'll have my popcorn on the couch, sitting back, locked into this series.
So, Harrison, I got 2 bold predictions for you, and I don't think they're all that bold. Number 1, there will not be a midnight game or 1:17 a.m.
You never know.
Because the games start at 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock Central Time, respectfully, on Saturday and Sunday. I don't know what Monday would be, but my goodness, if we're going till midnight, we might be in like the 20th inning.
Hey, we know how like that started that game against
unless we have rain delays. Now I don't know about that. I don't know I haven't looked at the weather, admittedly, unless we have rain delays.
DBU started the game at 10 p.m. It's like 5 hours later.
Yes, if we have rain delays, maybe. The other bold prediction I have, if LSU gets to a game 3, they're not starting Newt and they're not starting Cowan. They will start Case and Evans. That
which gives them a lot of rest too.
That will. I do not think Jay Johnson will. I'm not going to say make that mistake again, but I think that will be his choice. Let me just put it that way. You mentioned a lot of things. I do think, and I've talked about it all season, the thing that, if anything, scares me about this LSU club is at times the lineup can go really cold. The lineup can go stale. I think, what we aren't talking about, what happened in that Little Rock game, both games against Little Rock, actually. How many times did LSU leave the bases loaded before they finally –
Was it 3 or 4? I think it was at least 3.
It's 3 or 4 times they left the bases loaded before they finally broke through and finally, blew the top off that thing, pulled away and won the game. But you mentioned something, and I think West Virginia, by the way, nobody should be coming in this week and taking West Virginia lightly. Again, it's a well-coached club. Like, I heard somebody else say this, I forget who it was. They make the right baseball plays. Like, I think they're a team, kind of like we talked about Kentucky, but they're just a better version. They don't beat themselves. They're fundamentally sound. Like, they're going to, if they've got a guy on third with less than 2 outs and the infield's back, right? Or the middle infield's back. Like, they're going to do what they need to hit that ground ball and drive that run in. They're and we'll see if they get out of character this weekend. Sometimes that can happen, but I doubt that it does. They're a very fundamentally sound club. So LSU will obviously, at this point in the year, everybody does. You need to play a fundamentally sound game to beat them. But you mentioned it, Harrison. I'm going to go back to it. And the thing that gives me so much confidence in LSU, not just in this round, but moving into Omaha and I think competing for a national championship, my friend, you have the best 1-2 punch in college baseball. I mean, Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson, Cade Anderson, however you want to go, you've got the best 1-2 punch. And for everything West Virginia is and for everything they do well, I just don't see them having an answer for those two guys at Alex Box. And so I think it is 2 games. I think LSU wins it in 2 games. I think they sweep it. That's no disrespect to West Virginia, but I think this LSU team's just on a different level. And again, those 2 guys on the bump, not saying those guys are perfect. They've been hit this season, but it doesn't happen very often. I think those guys will be locked in postseason baseball, having some of their best outings. We saw it in the regional round. I think we're going to continue to see it in the supers. I think LSU wins games 1 and game 2, punches their ticket to Omaha. I just trust those 2 guys. I trust those 2 guys. And I think Jay, especially, like if you've got some tight ball games, have a chance to win. I think you're going to see Case and Evans come out. I think you're going to see Zach Cowan come out. Like if they can avoid going to a game 3, I think they're obviously going to do that. I think LSU too. I think Bear Jones is going to have a big week, and I think he finally the top kind of came off. You know this. Harrison's a baseball guy. Only takes one swing. It only takes one swing, one pitch, one play. I think for Bear Jones, and obviously you hope as an LSU fan, that was the swing that'll get him going. But it's such a mental game. I think it will be. Again, Ethan Fry seeing a beach ball, Luis Hernandez with the 2 home runs in a Monday game. Monster Milam, this is the time of year where he swings a hot stick.
He plays a hell
funny enough, we've gone this entire time. We haven't even mentioned Derek Curiel's name, who's the tone setter at the top of the lineup, who, LSU's winning at this rate, and we're not even talking about him, buddy, because he's going to get going. I mean, Derek Curiel is going to and is a key factor and a key player on that team. So I love this LSU team. I don't think it's any secret. I think West Virginia, I think there will be some tense moments for sure. It's postseason baseball, but postseason baseball at the box. I told you this, Harrison, weeks ago. It didn't really matter to me who LSU was playing. You got to go through Alex Box to get to Omaha. That favors the LSU Tigers. It goes without saying. Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson, back-to-back days. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and see you in Omaha. LSU goes back to the promised land for the first time in 2 years.
I think LSU has a big advantage in, and that we don't talk about a ton because they're not a home run style team, is the home run ball in this game, because they've had 94 home runs this year. West Virginia's had 55, and it's contributed to, yes, LSU's left a lot of base runners on recently, it feels like, and left the bases loaded, 3 times versus Arkansas, Little Rock of all teams, but they're just creating runs at a much higher level than West Virginia is at a consistent factor that I think gives them even more of an advantage playing at home to back up that pitching staff as well.
For sure. I think the hitting obviously is the question, the thing that we'll be keeping a close eye on. But the good news is this: you don't need a ton of run support when you got guys like Cade Anderson, Anthony Ice on the bump. So I'm going LSU. You're going LSU in the Baton Rouge Super. And Harrison, dare I say, not really a surprise that both of us are going with the LSU Tigers. I'll be curious to see how many people from the national landscape, if there's anybody out there who's bold enough to go West Virginia. Haven't seen many yet, but
someone will.
We'll see. I'm sure somebody will. Harrison, let's go to the third and final SEC Super Regional, that being the Auburn Super Regional. The Auburn Tigers welcome the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Certainly neither you or I have ever had a run-in with their fan base or their team. But either way, Coastal Carolina goes to Plainsman Park. Coastal obviously winning the Conway Regional. I don't know what the bigger storyline was, the stuff that happened not between the white lines or the actual regional itself.
Or your comment about there's more to the story.
Or that too. But either way, Coastal comes out of it. Really good ball club. Been a really, really good team all year. Their head coach, Schnall, which I want to say I do like Kevin Schnall. I think he's a really good coach. All the other stuff aside. But Kevin Schnall brings his team in. It's a really good team. We've seen them go toe-to-toe with SEC competition all season long. Obviously, they didn't have to face Florida because East Carolina disposed of them for them, but they beat a solid East Carolina team that was red hot, beat them 1-0 in that regional final to punch their ticket. Harrison, for Auburn, kind of like LSU, or not like LSU, like Arkansas. It was very ho-hum, very businesslike. Swept the regional. The games weren't really all that close either. I mean, Auburn kind of dominated the regional, and certainly they've been one of the best teams in college baseball. They've got a fantastic core of young players. And Harrison, you mentioned earlier in the week, the first super regional in the history of Plainsman Park, and I think in Auburn baseball history, which is just still doesn't sound right, because while it's not a program with the most tradition, I mean, they got a pretty good program. So that surprised me either way. Plainsman's going to be jumping. You talked about this last week, Harrison, and we saw it, that they had added extra seating and they want to bring even more people in there. And so, this weekend is going to be absolutely crazy. But here comes Coastal Carolina, national champions in 2016. They will not be intimidated. They will not be fazed. Your thoughts on this one, Harrison? This Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if necessary. Of the three SEC Supers, Harrison, believe it or not, I think this is the one that may have the best chance to get really wacky and weird. I don't know what. There's some gut feeling that I think this Super could just get off the rails a little bit. Maybe I'm wrong. Either way, it's going to be a fun weekend down the Plains. Your thoughts? Auburn, Coastal, who you picking? And I guess the question I should be asking you now is this: as we go into this, does the SEC get 3 teams in Omaha?
I think this is going to be an interesting regional from the fact for the SEC that it's the more quiet one in terms of teams, because obviously LSU, the fan base, the history, the program prestige. Then you have our Arkansas, Tennessee match up head-to-head rematch, all the storylines with Tony Vitello and Dave Van Horn, everything surrounding that. 2 of the best programs in the country the past couple of years. Even the history of Auburn hosting their first super regional ever in program history. It's been fun to watch because Coastal Carolina, yes, is our mid-major, but they play with the big boys constantly. They play at that level. They recruit at that level. Kevin Schnall did a great job after succeeding. Gary Gilmore, one of the best head coaches in college baseball history, and I think such a notable coach that, winning a national title as a mid-major and what that means, and not even for Coastal Carolina itself, but what does that mean for mid-major across the country? I mean, we've seen it Stony Brook, Cal State Fullerton, Fresno State, right? We talked about how, and you specified on it a lot, how this is kind of it feels like the end of the mid-major run. It really does, just kind of with NIL, the revenue share, the transfer portal specifically. Coastal Carolina and others, UTSA, Murray State said, to hell with that. Watch this. And Coastal Carolina's going to march their way down to Plainsman Park and give Auburn hell because they are such a good pitching staff, Chris. They have, by far, I think, a better pitching staff than Auburn, surprisingly, I think, in this series statistically. And sure, if you want to lean on that being the Sun Belt Conference, sure, you can lean on that. But, I mean, it's postseason baseball. You still have to get through the postseason, which they've done up to this point. But they've got a really good 3-man rotation of Jacob Morrison, Riley Elkoff, and Cameron Flukie, who all have sub 3.2 ERAs, all have a sub 1.1 whip. And it's just been unbelievable there. I think it's, 25-3 record. I mean, obviously that helps when you win over 40 games, but just the way that they pitch and lean on their pitching staff is so good. I mean, talk about how, bombs at the beach, right? When they play at home, they only had 62 home runs this season as a team. Auburn had 84. It's going to come down for me to Auburn facing this pitching staff, and can they have enough offense production? And then can Coastal's pitching staff limit Auburn's hitting? Because I think Auburn has by far a better offensive lineup and, statistical production throughout it in almost every category. But Coastal's mound presence and just execution on the mound, I think, is so much better. It's going to come down to that. But there's something that's just brewing, Chris. There's something brewing down in Auburn, Alabama, in Plainsman, and this team that they've proven no matter what. They don't have the big names. They don't have, the big draft picks, first round, top of the first round, Golden Spikes guys. They've gone around the SEC and beaten down a lot of teams. They beat LSU. They beat Tennessee. They beat all these other teams in the SEC to end up with a number 4 hosting seed, national seed in the country. People still doubting them, say they shouldn't have deserved that. They're going to prove everyone wrong this weekend and get back to Omaha with a massive, massive series win in 3 games. 3 games, because I think this Coastal pitching staff is that legit and that good. I don't know who on Coastal's pitching staff I like the best in this spot necessarily. If I had to lean one, it'd probably be Cameron Flukie, just with how much of a strikeout pitcher and just power pitcher he is in executing, expanding the zone. But it's gonna be a fun one to watch. I think all of them are gonna be fun, but I think the SEC, this is gonna be a kind of a quiet, fun one to watch, just kind of a more of a matchup situation. But give me the Tigers to return back to Omaha and win their first super regional hosting series in program history. And
Hey,
that's 3 in Omaha.
That's 3. Yeah, we're guaranteed 1. That's why we have both at LSU. That's 2, and Auburn would be 3. Harrison, I should have mentioned this too when we were talking about the LSU Super, and it goes without saying, but I think this one especially, we talked about, and you and I both love college baseball, so we love the upsets. But let me be selfish here for a moment and speak from a selfish vantage point. This is a really big weekend for the SEC, and this is a big Super for the perception of the conference. Fairly, unfairly, I get it. Upsets happen. I think to say the SEC had a down year because because there were upsets in the regionals, it's a bit unfair because this game is so wacky. Harrison, you and I both know that. But perception is reality, right? It just is. Whether you like it or not, it is. If Auburn were to lose to Coastal on their home field, the college baseball fans and everybody would love it because the Cinderella. It'd be a brutal look for the conference. It just would. There's no other way to spin it.
Let alone the rest of the college baseball world, would never let the SEC hear.
No, they wouldn't.
They haven't.
No.
They've been giving it hell of the SEC.
Yeah, there's been an attack on the SEC over the last week or so, which it is what it is. When you're at the mountaintop, everybody wants to swing up and take shots. It is what it is.
When you have one average year, but you also have 13 teams in the postseason.
Yeah. No, I mean, and we could spend a whole other show just talking about that topic alone. But anyways, this is a huge Super for the conference. You want to get as many teams in Omaha as possible. So you want to max out and get 3 in. And it's a shame, obviously, that Tennessee and Arkansas are playing each other, because I think both, you could argue, are Omaha caliber and both deserve to go. Either way, Harrison, I'm just going to say this. I need Auburn to win this Super more than I need air to breathe. After the last few days or so, Coastal Carolina going to Omaha will be my personal hell if they do make it. I'll probably have to wear a helmet around the city for at least during the time they're there.
And you will have to buy, I believe, a Coastal Carolina jello shot.
And I'll do that. I have no problem doing that. And maybe those in person, I'm sure those in person will be more hospitable than maybe some of those on Twitter. But either way, yours truly's presence has been felt in the Myrtle Beach area. So there's not a lot of positive feelings, I think, from that crew. Either way, I don't think I'm going to have to worry about that, because I do think Auburn's going to get the job done. Like you said, Auburn, for whatever reason, it's so easy to sleep on them or kind of forget them or take them lightly, I guess. I mean, Harrison, there's a reason a couple weeks ago I ranked them number 1 in my power rankings, and whatever that means.
And then they got swept at Ole Miss.
No, they lost 2 or 3.
They lost
2 or 3. But I think really the principle of it, and the point I was trying to make was, like, this is a team of that caliber that we need to be putting that respect on. I think Samuel Dutton's going to set a great tone for them. I love their young core, like we've talked about so many times. It goes so far beyond the names Ike Irish, Cooper McMurray. I mean, what Chris Rembert has done has been incredible. Derek Fabian's a really, really solid player. I mean, you go down the list of guys. This Auburn team, what Butch Thompson has built.
Chase Fralick, too. He's played a huge role.
Fralick's been awesome.
Huge. I mean, they're all playing like sophomores, it feels like, Chris.
Well, and at this point in the year, like, you're not really a freshman anymore. Like, at this point in the year, you've played a lot of baseball. Like, you're kind of not really a freshman anymore. Although, again, this is their first postseason experience. Yeah. So,
but I think Chase Fralick's the most important of the 3 freshmen, just from a catcher role and just what he means to the lineup on both sides, playing in such a premier position.
I think so. Yeah. Again, Chase Fralick has been such a key piece for them. I think Auburn at home, Plainsman Park is rocking. I would agree with you. I will not be surprised if it goes 3 games because I do want to be complimentary and say Coastal Carolina's got a hell of a club, but Auburn's going to shove it up their ass, and they're going to go take that series. They're going to go to Omaha, and this will all be just kind of a fun thing we look back on. Say, remember that time Chris and Coastal for whatever reason? And by the way, I don't even really hate Coastal Carolina. I have no reason to. It's just it kind of turned into this funny thing, I guess, after the
3.1 million views on it. There's more to the story.
I don't know, man. And also, too, like I really don't have any problems with Kevin Schnall. I think he's a really good coach, and obviously it speaks for itself where they are, what they did this season, where they're at, and they could go in and win this Super. I don't think they're going to that. I think Auburn again on a mission. Butch Thompson and company. I love Auburn, what they've got on the mound in this one. I think they shut down Coastal swinging the bats, and I think they do enough. They'll get the job done. Punch the ticket to Omaha. Auburn going to remind everyone just how good of a program this has been, because you look back at the history, they've got more than a handful of Omaha appearances over the last 5 years or so. Been one of the best in college baseball, and I think they will do it yet again. And the SEC does get 3 in Omaha. And Harrison, really quickly, we forgot to mention this. Our friends over at FanDuel, Auburn is minus 160 to win the Super. Coastal Carolina plus 124. The other SEC Supers, LSU, minus 430. Massive, massive favorites. West Virginia is plus 300.
Wow.
And in the Fayetteville Super, Harrison, Arkansas, minus 146. Tennessee, plus 114. So pretty close odds, but
the minus 146 surprised me. I thought it'd be like a 130, maybe.
They're like you. They like the hog pen. They're feeling good about the hog pen, man.
What's there not to like?
What's there not to like about the hog pen?
Still haven't been. We're working on that for next year.
We're going to get there for sure.
Working on the hospitality.
Harrison, let's jump over. So we got the SEC ones knocked out. We got 5 more to go. Let's talk some college baseball, my friend. Some of these others. Let's go to Durham. The Duke Blue Devils, which, again, a pair of teams in this Super that I don't know that anybody – if you predicted this matchup, kudos on you. But it's the Duke Blue Devils and the Murray State Racers, the 4 seed coming out of Oxford. They'll do battle, like I said, in Durham at Duke's Field that I think maybe seats like 1,500 people per our guy Harrison Fant. But either way, they're going to be jumping in the triangle, excited for postseason baseball. Harrison, does my preseason Omaha pick Duke make it? Or does Murray State play spoiler and a 4 seed get back to the College World Series?
Chris, the wildness that we've seen in this postseason has been unlike any other.
Murray State's been the proponent of chaos as well.
It has absolutely been the proponent and the front runner, pun intended, of chaos that rippled across the regional, I think, aspects in environment. Mm-hmm. Same with Duke. I mean, Duke, a lot of people didn't predict Duke to be in this situation, except for Duke fans. I like that matchup for them at Georgia. They could slug it with Georgia. They can pitch pretty well. They have a bunch of lefties that Georgia struggles with. Oklahoma State doesn't swing it as well. They have a really good starting rotation, right? But Chris, preseason, you did have Duke in your Omaha 8, your dark horse. One of your 2 dark horses still has a chance in a super regional.
My other dark horse got a new head coach. So
the other dark horse might be a couple seasons early.
Yeah, a couple seasons early.
I don't think anyone predicted postseason baseball at Jack Combs Field in Durham, North Carolina, Chris. That seats, I think, well under 2,000, if that at all. I don't know if they're putting extended seating in, something that feels like the ACC, relies on and has to do more than the SEC because it just means less anyways. But Chris, there is no environment, I think, that can compare Duke, prepare them better outside of Alex Box and Baum Walker Stadium than, I think, from a hostility aspect, than Swayze Field. In the way that Murray State slugged it with one of the best offenses in the ACC, went up against several of the best ACC pitchers, and one of the national semifinalist pitchers of the year, Mason Patel, and then faced Ole Miss's elite, dominating bullpen on top of a starting pitching rotation that they faced with Hunter Elliott in an offense that can slug it. Slugs it very well at home. They went toe to toe, hoof for hoof, Chris. They raced their way slugging their way to a super regional under Dan Skirko, one of the best mid-major coaches in college baseball now, you can say. One of the rising stars of the mid-major coaches. And Chris, all odds say Duke. All signs point to Duke. Statistically, there's no way a 4 seed gets back to Omaha. You don't believe it. The media doesn't believe it. No one outside Murray, Kentucky, where I have actually been to Murray, Kentucky. I've been recruited by Murray State. I've been recruited by other schools as well. Don't worry. But I'm riding the Cinderella here, Chris. Give me the Murray State Racers. The way I think it's predicated on the way that they played in Oxford. Really, just they proved that they can hit elite pitching, lefty, righty, doesn't matter. Starter or reliever, and yeah, maybe their pitching staff has struggled more so than others in this super regional and Duke specifically with a lot of really good, I think, frontline starters. But just give me some more chaos. Give me the Racers racing into Durham in a non-hostile environment. They're going to think this is like playing in like high school ballpark compared to Swayze Field. It's probably going to feel like close to playing a home game at Murray State. I'm shooting that shot. Been to the stadium. It's pretty close. Give me the Racers, Chris. Give me the Racers in 3. So this might be – it's not even going to be a wild super regional. I just think that it just come down to – this is going to be on a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, correct?
I believe
Monday,
so.
It's going to come down to Monday. People are like, oh, wow, this series is still going on. Murray State's got a chance. And I think they just pulled out. I didn't just hang with the big boys. I mean, why not? Let's ride it. Let's ride it. No one's going to pick Murray State. I'm taking it. I'm taking the bait, picking Murray State, racing their way to Omaha, Chris.
Yeah, you are correct, Harrison. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, if necessary. Saturday, they get going at noon Central. Sunday, 11 a.m. Central. And then Sunday, we'll see if they need it. I do want to point
out. Dan Skirk in the Kobe's.
I like it. I will say this, Harrison, you pointed out and I'm going to have to recirculate this clip at some point because I'm going to be wrong, that I said that the Cinderella story was dead in college baseball, and it just felt like all the good players were going to, like, you look at the SEC rosters and they're just kind of like picking their guys they want. And we're going to have, I feel confident in saying,
there's no way we lose 3.
We're going to have a mid-major in Omaha. It feels hard for me to believe that, like you said, all 3 of those will lose. That said, and Murray State's a great story, and I say they're a great story. And I don't mean that from the standpoint of like, oh, they're just not very good, but they're on this Cinderella run. If you watched Murray State and Oxford, that's a good team. Like, they're a good baseball team.
And I said how they're the best 4 seed in the postseason. They can slug it with all of these teams. It's the deepest regional for a reason. They're going to give Ole Miss a tough time.
And Ole Miss apparently thought that not throwing Hunter Elliott in game 1 against them was a good move.
I think they had to save him. But what concerns me is Murray State's pitching staff. It really does.
Because Murray State, how did they win? How did they win that regional? They outslugged everybody.
Can they do that again? 70 runs in 5 games.
Right, Harrison. So yeah, Murray State, red hot. Love the pick. I am going to go Duke though. 2 big reasons. Number 1, I love Chris Pollard. I think he's one of the best coaches in the game.
Yep.
There's a reason his name's always floating around in the hot boards. And
turning Duke from nothing into something in a national legitimate team and program.
Yeah. When coaching searches are happening, there's a reason his name's floating. Second reason, Harrison, you mentioned it. I picked Duke to go to Omaha in the preseason. Can't back off him now. So
Dan, I think you're contractually obligated.
I'm riding the Blue Devils pick to Omaha. Listen, if you look at my preseason Omaha 8, don't do it, please, because I didn't get many of them right. I don't know many people that did get many of them right or potentially get many of them right.
I don't know any of them that didn't have Texas A&M in them.
Duke will be the one that I think I'll be like the most proud of from the standpoint that, like, I took a flyer and it actually worked. So give me the Duke Blue Devils in front of a raucous 1,500 out there at whatever you said, Joe P. whatever park.
Jack Combs Field.
Jack Combs Field.
Give me the over, too, in every game of this series. I mean, when you look at statistically, Duke's offense is so good, and they played super well in the regional. The statistics kind of match that. The bullpen is their strength as well. Their starting pitching has really struggled, but their bullpen's going to lock it down. It's going to be, can Murray State score on Duke's bullpen, and can Duke's bullpen limit Murray State's offensive production? That's what the series is going to come down to in its whole.
Haberson, I will say, if you feel really confident, FanDuel's got Duke minus 410 to win the Super. Murray State plus 290. So there's some really good value to be had on Murray State.
There's no way that every favorite wins and goes to Omaha. There's just
no doubt. Murray State plus 290 is great value, I will say. But I'm going to stick with my Duke pick. You're going Murray State. Maybe the Racers can race their way to Omaha. Harrison, that being said, before we get into the final 4 Super Regionals, let's talk about our friends over at FanDuel because, of course, as always, we're brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The wait is over. Baseball season's finally here, and you can start the season strong on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, FanDuel is celebrating the return of baseball by giving new customers $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel's got so many ways for you to get on the action, from hits to steals to home runs. They've got a lineup filled with all your favorite bets, or if pitching is more of your thing, FanDuel's got a deep bullpen of bets from strikeouts to shutout innings. So when you place your first bet, it can be at almost anything, and if it hits, you'll get $250 in bonus bets. And guys, like we've just been talking, you can bet on who wins the Super. You can bet on the individual games. Individual game lines are out right now as well. And, of course, they'll have College World Series props, plays, and we'll be throwing our picks out there as well. So when you play, just make sure you visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today. That's FanDuel.com/SECU. Make every moment more. FanDuel, official partners of Major League Baseball and official partners of SEC Unfiltered. Harrison, let's keep it moving. Keep talking these Super Regionals. Let's jump to
where do you want to go?
Let's jump to the Los Angeles Super, shall we? Let's go West Coast. Let's go West Coast. The UCLA Bruins hosting the Super out there. They will be hosting UTSA. Harrison, we did not think this was going to be in Los Angeles. I think you and I both thought we'd be talking about an Austin Super Regional with UCLA or whoever else going there. You thought maybe, I think UC Irvine was the pick. Either way, this is another one where a mid-major has an opportunity to go to Omaha. The Roadrunners come in looking to play spoiler Harrison. This one, Saturday, Sunday, Monday if necessary. The Saturday game at 6 o'clock Central, Sunday at 2 o'clock, Monday TBD. Harrison, who you got out in L.A. punching their ticket to Omaha?
Chris, I think this is going to be a fun regional from a West Coast standpoint, even though I know UTSA isn't, a West Coast team. Just kind of the style in which of ball that they've been playing and, prove that they can play with the big boys. I mean, doing so, yes, in a home state, obviously. I just think that, playing at Dish Falk Field is way different than playing at Jackie Robinson Stadium out in L.A. I mean, I don't know the seating capacity off the top of my head for Dish Falk, but I do know that Jackie Robinson Stadium is slightly bigger than Jack Combs Field for Duke. It holds
some ballparks. I'll tell you this, Harrison, some ballparks that didn't know or expect to be getting Super Regional Baseball are hosting Super Regional Baseball. They're like,
I'm going to say 3 or 4 at least.
They're like, we're scrambling. We got to get this thing ready.
We got to get portable chairs, seating, just risers, bleachers, whatever we can get.
Had no clue they were going to be hosting a Super Regional. No clue.
Jackie Robinson Stadium, Chris, can hold 1,800. I confirmed what they can actually hold. It's just over 2,000 when they put them on the berm in the outfield. But
hell yeah.
I mean, 2,000, baby, that's just going to feel like.
You think a lot of Roadrunner fans are making the trip from San Antonio up to Los Angeles?
I'm going to go with no.
I think parents will probably go.
I'm going to overwhelmingly go with, outside of family or connection, like immediate connections, no.
Yeah. That's a pretty tough trip.
You're also to an LA market.
Not close. Too. Yeah, it's not close.
But Chris, the way that they swing the bat this season, they ran away. Pun intended. The Roadrunners ran away with their conference. Was it Conference USA, I believe? I mean, and how they played in the regional and kind of marched their way through that. And it felt like more confident than we expected, even if it was, even if they did lose a game to Texas or here and there, or whatever it was. It felt like they seemed so much more calm than we expected in the way that they did it, and just prove that, yet again, they can hang with the big boys. I mean, Chris, 44 wins in the regular season, 25 RPI. I mean, they can slug it with the best. I mean, top 10 in batting average and on-base percentage. I mean, their pitching staff obviously shut down a really clutch offense in Texas, and they shut down everyone in the regional, it felt like. I mean, Kansas State, it didn't matter. And they proved that they can play in the big stage with big boys. They did it. They went, what was it, 3-0 against Texas in this season as a whole?
I mean, UTSA is legit. You could argue UTSA solely is the reason Texas is no longer playing baseball.
100% agree.
Texas had a 3-game series against UTSA and got swept. That's why they're not playing baseball.
At home.
I
mean,
leave no doubt. Leave no doubt.
playing down the street, I don't want to say down the street. Texas is a massive state. You can be 5 hours and still be in the same state, any direction you go. But playing at UCLA, I think, is going to not be too much of a challenge or just kind of hostility factor-wise, because they're so good at playing on the road, and I really believe in that. And I do love home field advantage. I just don't think UCLA has a massive home field advantage in regards to atmosphere and just kind of once that comes down, those clutch innings, those clutch at-bats and things like that. And UTSA can swing it. They can swing it for sure. They're not a huge home running hitting team, but they produce a lot of runs nonetheless without doing so. Only 66 home runs, but they bat over 317 as a team, creating 57% more runs than the league than the Division I average of teams. They're 157 WRC plus. It's 11th in the country, Chris. And their pitching staff, their bullpen can really pitch. I'm really impressed with them and how they kind of handle the regional. UCLA can really pitch too, and their bullpen is, I think, better than UTSA's, but it's just I think the offense is a little bit of a downgrade, barely from a kind of overall production standpoint. They still produce a lot of runs and just a little bit less than UTSA at a 154 WRC plus. But Chris, I'm going with a hot hand here and just how I feel like they're playing and just on the big stage, the big moments. UCLA kind of just feels like they kind of sleepwalked of a host of a national seed that's hosting into that, because a lot of people, I didn't have them on that. I had them just missing out on hosting on that bubble. And I'm just kind of riding the mid-major vibe here. One of them is going to pop, and I'm going to be right with one of them. But I really do like UTSA in this spot against UCLA versus other super regional teams. And I feel like they're just going to go in fearless and kind of play with house money, honestly. And there's nothing better than playing with house money in the postseason.
UTSA is definitely a vibes pick. UCLA, like you mentioned, really, really talented club. It's UCLA baseball, so they are going to pitch well. And like you said, they actually swing it pretty well too. I'll take you this, Harrison. I'm going UTSA also. If an SEC team doesn't win the national title, just know I'm pulling for the Roadrunners. That's who I want to win it all. If a SEC team, for whatever reason, doesn't win it all, I am pulling hard for the Roadrunners.
You're not going to pull for Coastal?
I am not. I'm not going to pull for Coastal. I'm going to pull for UTSA. I would love to see it. I don't know what it is. I just like this UTSA team. They were my pick in the regional, so I got to stick by them. We're going to Omaha.
You have to.
Mid-major love. I'm giving some for those. There's a bad narrative out there that I hate the mid-majors. I'm a mid-major hater. I'm really not. Love the mid-majors. Love the mid-majors. Yeah. And I think UTSA is the mid-major that punches the ticket. They get there. This is a fun baseball team. I think they keep it rolling. Vibes, big vibes team. Pick here.
No, what I think even more than vibes is I think that they match up really well versus UTSA, or UTSA matched up really well versus UCLA's pitching staff. I mean, UCLA's pitching staff of Michael Barnett, Landon Stump, and Ian May are they're not huge strikeout guys. I mean, the most strikeouts is less than one per inning of Michael Barnett at 70 and 75 innings. I mean, you got Ian May, he's got 68 innings and 46 strikeouts, and UTSA is not a team that strikes out a lot. So it's going to have a lot more opportunities to put the ball in play, and they're doing that. It's going to give them a lot more chances to get guys on, get them over, and score them, right? And so for me, it gives them a really good opportunity to create a lot of run production with guys like Mason Lytle, Norris McClure, and Jordan Ballin, who I think is going to have a good series. I think they're going to have a lot of opportunities to score runs because of that.
It's going to be a fun weekend out in Los Angeles. You and I both, though, going with UTSA. So the Roadrunners running their way to Omaha, Nebraska. What a story it'll be.
Someone's going to run their way, or someone's going to race their way to Omaha. We'll see who it is.
I think one of the two it's going to happen. So, but you got both. You got Murray State and UTSA. So tip of the cap to you. That'd be something. Harrison,
we can't all pick favorites.
I understand. I get it. Like I said last week, you got to think outside of the box.
But it does like UTSA is the vibes pick of this is the mid-major to pick to go. I think a lot of people are hammering that.
Get this. Per FanDuel, UCLA is minus 166. UTSA just plus 144. So I think they think it's a coin flip.
A little more than a coin flip.
A little more, but not as wide of a margin as you would
comparing
think.
The statistics of them from our friends at College Baseball Insider. Shout out to them. I mean, they have UCLA at a minus 242 and a UTSA at a plus 242, just kind of a 70-30 kind of split. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be a lot of fun. Harrison, let's go back to Louisville. The Louisville Super Regional, once again, two teams I don't think many were expecting to be in this spot, but it's
Neither
ACC.
one of them.
Yeah, neither one of them, but it's ACC on ACC. Louisville takes on the Miami Hurricanes. This is actually a team I saw in person earlier in the season down in Gainesville, and what a ways they have come because they lost that series 2 of 3 and didn't look bad, but if you'd have told me they'd have been in the Supers, I probably would have been skeptical. Louisville, obviously, Harrison goes into Nashville, takes care of their business. They beat up on Vandy. They steal that regional away from the number 1 overall national seed. And Miami, coming out of Hattiesburg, right? They took care of their business in a Monday winner-take-all down there at the Pete against Southern Miss. You know, kind of looked like, hey, Southern Miss won the Sunday game. They're at home. It looks like they might be able to take that. Nope. Miami steals it, and we got an ACC on ACC showdown. Harrison, you're a lot more familiar with these two teams than I am because obviously the Georgia Tech connections, covering the ACC a little bit. You've probably seen these teams, know about these teams. Miami, you mentioned last week, was very, very hot and cold, or maybe just really cold down the stretch. And
Louisville team, but cold down the stretch.
Yeah, cold down the stretch. And Louisville, you know, Dan McDonald's one of the best in the business. I'm not surprised at all to see Louisville baseball back.
I can confirm that firsthand.
Yeah, he's one of the best in the business. Harrison, your thoughts on this one? Louisville, Miami in Louisville, Kentucky. Who takes it? Who's going to Omaha?
Surprising to see both these teams in the Super from the facet of I don't think anyone expected it to be an all ACC matchup, let alone, you know, Vanderbilt, I think primarily obviously being the number 1 national seed to be the first team to not even make a regional final as a number 1 national seed since 1999 when they changed it to the current format it is still. But with that, I think this might be my least confident pick in just not knowing what's going to happen in the series. I've called 3 games on ACC Network for Louisville against Georgia Tech in the final regular season homestand for Georgia Tech. Gotten really familiar with this team through that series and some really talented players. Obviously, Coach Dan McDonald have had the pleasure of talking to him and just learning about him, his coaching, you know, the program, and just really loved and really see why firsthand he's a hot name on every coaching board. It feels like every year. And I say this is my least confident in the facet of the inconsistencies I think that both teams give you, because both can be very hot and cold, I think, throughout the year. More so Miami with some big series wins and some big series losses, cold down the stretch. I said going to the regional, you're not going to know what version of Miami you're going to get necessarily, which really concerned me. They played really well in the regional. They scored a lot of runs, which is not traditionally what they've been able to do statistically. They've been not a great pitching staff, but a better pitching staff and a really struggling, I think, inconsistent offense. Louisville, on the other hand, Chris, been a really good, you know, offensive production has been their strength, especially not striking out and stealing a lot of bases. They don't walk a lot, though. And kind of, you know, their batting average and everything's middle of the pack. But their pitching staff has really struggled throughout the season, especially their bullpen. But the pitching staff, which is just the complete opposite of Miami. So I don't really know what exactly you're going to get from either team and who's going to step up in those situations. This feels like whoever is hot and who's not is not. And it's just such polar opposites for me, difference looking at these teams. And I'm honestly just going to go with the team that I'm more familiar with and know that can play at a higher consistency level a little bit and playing at home in Louisville and just what I've seen from them. But this is a coin flip for me. Would not surprise me if Miami won this, but like I said, least confident pick, but just what I know and what I've seen in Louisville, I like a little bit better to have a higher floor in this series.
Harrison, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if necessary, series up there in Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah, it's a coin flip. I mean, this one could go either way. I did like what I saw from Miami and Hattiesburg. They got a little more pop in the lineup than I thought. I mean, the scouting report for them back in the earlier part of the season, I mean, a lot has changed since the beginning of March, but you knew they could spin it. Really good pitching staff, not a ton of pop in the lineup, but I thought, again, in Hattiesburg, we saw a little bit more of that. Really streaky team, like you mentioned. I got to go Louisville at home, though. I'm going to trust the fighting Dan McDonald's. You know, I'm like you. I don't really love the pick. Will not surprise me at all to go to the other way, but I think a really solid home crowd. I think having the home crowd behind you, yeah, I trust Louisville here. I trust Louisville to get it done, get back to Omaha. I mean, I will say it'd be cool to see Miami back in Omaha. That's just like, it college baseball, like I grew up with, and I'm sure you did to an extent, Miami was very, very good. Like they were an elite of the sport. So seeing them back in Omaha would be cool, but I'm going to go Louisville. I'm right there with you. I think.
And Chris, I think it's going to be the names to watch out for Louisville that are make a lot of noise are Eddie King Jr. and Jake Monroe, two of their best hitters, with Eddie King Jr. over 1,100 OPS, Jake Monroe just behind him at just over a 1,000 OPS. But Tage Davis, one of the best freshmen in the country, home run leader across the country for freshmen with 18 home runs. Batting average is a little bit below where you think it would be with the OPS as well, but one of the most talented freshmen in the country. So much fun to watch. A first baseman that can cover a hell of a lot of ground. Saw him make a diving catch into the dugout at Georgia Tech. Love what I see from him and the talent they have throughout the roster. Lucas Moore is a really, really, really good guy up at the top of their lineup. Excited to watch the offense there and, you know, how well they play against, like you said, this Miami team that can spin it on the mound and look to kind of continue their offense production that they had from the regional that I think surprised a lot of people, but also continue to play and pitch it how they have been most of the season.
So I'm going with the Louisville Cardinal. You're going Louisville as well as Louisville, Miami. ACC on ACC, battle it out for a spot in Omaha.
ACC guaranteed a spot in Omaha.
ACC is guaranteed a spot in Omaha, indeed. Harrison, let's go to Corvallis, Oregon State, and Florida State. This one is going to be fun. FSU with a heck of a road trip. It is a long way up there to Corvallis, up there in the great state of Oregon. The Beavers and Seminoles will do battle Friday, Saturday, Sunday if necessary. Harrison, this is one that I think is going to be really, really interesting. I mean, these are two Omaha caliber clubs. I'd say this, probably of the non-SEC supers, I think this is the best super regional, just from a standpoint of good on good, elite on elite. Again, it's a shame that both these teams aren't in Omaha, but one can go, one will go home. Thoughts on who comes out of Corvallis, Oregon State or Florida State?
This is definitely the most exciting non-SEC team super regional for me by far. Two pedigree programs. And I mean that in the most highest regard. We know how the history of Florida State baseball, I mean, let alone under Coach Mike Martin, but just as a program history. I mean, they had the longest streak of reaching the postseason in college baseball history over, was it 48 years in a row, 47, something like that. It was unbelievable. And I love just the different styles of kind of programs that they are. Just the southeast of below the southeast of Florida. And then you get the Pacific Northwest of Oregon State, who won an independent season this year, played, what is it, over 30 games on the road, over 40 games on the road, maybe. And they played, you said 12 home games. Wacky, wild season, just a one of one that people still kept doubting. I doubted. And the way that I watched them play this postseason and just the offensive juggernaut explosion they had, I think they scored as many runs as Murray State did. They scored 20 runs in one of their games. I think they scored close to 70 runs in the regional. And they can both swing it. Florida State, Oregon State. Some state's going to win this super regional. They both swing at such a high level. I think Florida State swings a little bit better offense production-wise from a pop standpoint, but creating more runs as Oregon State definitely has the edge on that for sure. The last 10 games, Florida State struggled more so in the offensive production aspects of, batting across the board. And we've seen the offensive, explosion, like I said, the juggernaut explosion they had in the regional at Oregon State. But when it comes down to just the pitching staff in the bullpen, I really got to give the edge to Oregon State here. I just think that playing at home and just how good that their pitching, especially the bullpen specifically, has been taking care of business is so impressive and something that doesn't get enough credit that it deserves because of, people kind of forget about Oregon State, it feels like, honestly, because they're not in a conference. They're not in the ACC or SEC, let alone, a conference. And, they're playing independent ball, but they're in the Pacific Northwest. No one really thinks about that. And just, they are a baseball school. They always have been, Chris, and I think they always will. And when you have guys on the mound, like, Evan Kleichenschmidt, if I'm going to pronounce that correctly, and Dax Whitney, who's been so much fun to watch, it's guys like that who can pitch at such a high level, AJ Hutchinson, Nelson Keljo, if I'm pronouncing that one correctly too, just guys that I, have never really familiar with at all in the season, just kind of keeping up with, so much college baseball, let alone independent Pacific Northwest. They're the Pac-12 after dark if there would one be existing still. But I was really impressed from the pop standpoint, and it's going to be so hard to go across the country, Chris. 3 time zones, probably 30 degrees of latitude or longitude, one of the two.
I don't know.
One of the two that start with an L, and play in just in an environment that is so different than then. There's going to be, think about if Oregon State's playing in Tallahassee, the humidity and the heat there. They're not having to deal with that. Oregon State's having to get into host, and it's been a pretty ruckus atmosphere and just tough environment playing from what I've seen just the past couple of years watching Oregon State baseball. And I just have them in 3 games pulling it out, and just from an offensive standpoint, it's a little bit more explosion in the offense and outslugging Florida State. But it wouldn't surprise me if Florida State wins game 1 on the backs of Jamie Arnold.
Yeah,
that's how good of an offense I think Oregon State has.
Yeah, it'll be an electric matchup. It'll be fun to watch him do work. Oregon State, notably, by the way, lost that first game of that Corvallis Regional to St. Mary's. Came out of the losers bracket.
Fought their way back.
Fought their way back.
Against all odds. 93% of regional winners win game 1.
Yeah, so they defied all odds for sure. This one I'm really excited about. This will be the one, like I said, that we'll be keeping an eye on all of them, but I think is the best super outside of the SEC supers for sure. Yeah, I think weird things happen in Corvallis, Harrison. Just that weird things happen up there. And this Oregon State team is very good, by the way. That's not the only reason for the pick, but I love Oregon State at home. I think this is a team that chip on their shoulder, something to prove. No conference, had to go on the road all season. Now they get to, the final home games of the season. They get to end it at home in front of their home crowd. I think it'll be raucous. And yeah, I think Oregon State just finds a way again, scrappy. Even if they lose game 1, I think they win the next 2, pull it out, get back to Omaha. Oregon State and Omaha, it's just like hot dogs and beer and sunflower seeds, man. It's just part of the game. It's as part of the game as that. So I think we'll see the Beavers back in Omaha. Oregon State, don't forget, Corvallis.
National champions, Oregon State Beavers in 2018.
Yeah, and they won it back to back, I believe, in 06, 07?
Was it 06, 07 or 07, 08?
One of those two. But yeah, they won back to back.
I'm double checking now.
Because they beat, I believe, North Carolina.
It was 06, 07. They beat North Carolina in both of them.
Yeah. Beat them back. That's crazy. Crazy to think about. But
Pat Casey has 3 national champions.
Yeah, a great program. And Florida State, by the way, still looking for their first. So
it's crazy. It's the most successful program, I think, to not win a national championship. Sorry, Arkansas. It is what it is. It's Florida State.
Yeah. So that'll be a fun one in Corvallis. Harrison, finally, let's go over to Chapel Hill. I'm rocking Oregon State. We're both taking Oregon State.
What was the lines on that? Do you have that up?
Yes. Before we move on. Yes. The Corvallis Super right here. We've got per FanDuel. Florida State is the favorite. -125, Oregon State -104.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
-104. Both minus.
It really is a coin. It's a coin flip.
I had this as an absolute coin flip, like +105, -105. But shout out to the guy in the chat, Bo Molinari, he's going to be there Sunday in Corvallis for the game.
Wow. Well, Bo, have fun.
How about that? Hey, go link up with Los Beeves. Shout out Los Beeves. I'm riding with the Beeves, Los Beeves.
We're riding with the Beeves. We're riding with the Beeves.
I've been to Florida State Stadium. Sorry, but
a lot of people, a lot of non-SEC people love to clip this show. So Los Beeves, clip us. We're riding with you. We're riding with Los Beeves in that one. Harrison, let's close it out with the Chapel Hill Super Regional. The North Carolina Tar Heels, who are a lot of people's national title pick, I might add, are hosting the Arizona Wildcats. Arizona, a team that I saw earlier this season in Arlington, first weekend of the year. They did not look very good. They've come a long way since then, obviously, and they will take on the Tar Heels. Harrison in this one. FanDuel has North Carolina -330. Arizona +240. So the Tar Heels are a big, big favorite. UNC of the ACC. Harrison, does the ACC get another team in, or does Arizona play spoiler?
I think this is going to be a slept-on non-SEC regional, or super regional, excuse me. because Arizona is such a good postseason ball club. I mean, you got to think Jay Johnson was there, the success he's had there. And it just feels like they are the perennial outside of Oregon State, just kind of West Coast of recency that is just a perennial postseason club. And you just they always find their way in either hosting, which they've done in recent years, or playing in a deep in a regional or a super regional in recent years as well. And I think it's going to be a super fun one, even though I think UNC has a huge edge and is a huge favorite. I really love this UNC team and watching them. I think they got a ton of talent. You know, I saw them go through the ACC tournament, just watching a lot of the ACC tournament, and just really felt like they dominated it, especially the championship against Clemson, a really good national team that hosted. I mean, they have so many good guys on both sides of the ball, and I think it really starts when you hand the ball to Jake Knapp and just what he's able to do. I mean, a sub-2 ERA, a 0.83 whip. Below 1.3 is good. Below 1.1 is really good, like extremely good. A 0.83 is insane. He's 13-0, 2 complete games, Chris. He's not a huge strikeout guy, only 85 and 95 innings, but he doesn't walk anyone. 16 walks in 95 innings. Insane ratio. And then you get the ball to Jason Acaro behind him and then Aiden Hugh behind him. I mean, a lot of confidence in this. Just their guys, there's horses, a 3-headed horse that I think is slept on because of other rotations, but one of the most stable, I think, starting rotations definitely left in college baseball, but it's headlined by Jake Knapp. And he was a Golden Spike semifinalist. And it's just how good he is of a pitcher. Their bullpen behind it is so good and so talented. I mean, Ryan Lynch, Walker McDuffie, Folger Bose. I mean, they got guys behind them. They got, Olin Johnson too. And they got so many studs that Scott Forbes has to work with and gets to play around with and throw in different situations. And then that's even without talking the lineup, but how elite this lineup is, Chris. I mean, Luke Stevenson, who's I feel like just kind of a more veteran guy in the presence in the lineup, and Gavin Gallagher, who we saw just an unbelievably good postseason last year. You got Jackson Vanderbrake, another veteran, Ty Bass, Alex Madera, Hunter Stokely, just such a veteran lineup. Kane Kepley, just that I have a lot of confidence in. Just they are so good at playing in the big moments too, that it just feels so overwhelmingly for me that they're going to just take care of business at home and do so. I wouldn't be surprised if this one's in 2, Chris. I really wouldn't. I just think it's going to be a little too much for Arizona to handle. Going across country, yes, I'm going to factor that in a little bit. The last 10 games, Arizona produces a ton of offense. But I think overall, I just really love the offensive upside and one of the highest floors, I think, offensive-wise in the country, in North Carolina. And then the bullpen is just such a shove factory. I'm calling it a shove factory, Chris.
Harrison, UNC is a wagon. There's just no other way to put it.
They're not the wagon Gig and Bart's jumping on.
They're an elite, though. They're an elite. They are. This is a team that feels like it's destined to be, dare I say, in the national title series. Like they
have
are
them in the national championship, Chris.
Yeah, they're a really, really, really good club. They're a club from the standpoint. I'm picking North Carolina to win, Harrison. We've got some game lines out, which before we get out of here, we can run through these. I'm tempted to take them -1.5 in game 1. Over-unders at 10.5, but you got Jake Knapp on the bump.
Yeah.
You're telling me Arizona, I just don't see it. Like, I think UNC
if they can shut down or limit
1.
Mason White and Aaron Walton for Arizona, who is both their best offensive production pieces in their lineup by far, both over 1,000 OPS. Mason White just over 1,100 OPS, both over 320 bat average. Mason White's got 19 home runs. Walton's got 14. It's just, if you can limit them, I don't see them going to 3 games as much, really. I really don't. I'm not saying it's a short lineup or a not deep lineup. It's just when you take out 2 of their core nucleus pieces, it's going to be tough to fight against this UNC team on both fronts.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. I know Arizona's a bit of a hot upset pick, and what they did in Eugene was really impressive. They didn't even have to play Oregon, though. But they didn't have to play Oregon. That's a good point, because Oregon went 2-Q in their own regional. So it's a good story. I agree with you, though. I won't be surprised if North Carolina sweeps this one. I'm not buying into the hype that Tar Heels will get upset. This is here. I'll say this, Harrison, because you're right. Not all the favorites are going to win, But this is the time, like the best teams, the most talented teams, they're the ones that are going to be in Omaha.
Yeah.
Like I fully believe the cream rises to the top. I think that's what you're going to see over the weekend. North Carolina is not going to let Arizona come into their house and take that super.
I mean, Arizona's got some really good bullpen pieces, though. Like, they don't walk guys at all. Their bullpen is the number 1 team in the nation at walking the least amount of players, least amount of batters. It's 8% coming in the postseason. Their FIP is number 2 in the country, 30th strikeout percentage. Their bullpen is their best asset and best piece. So if you're UNC, you got to score early. I think it's going to be the key.
Haberson, that's all 8 of our super regional picks. Again, we'll run through these one more time. In Fayetteville, you're going Arkansas. I'm going Tennessee. In Baton Rouge, we're both going LSU. In Durham, I'm going Duke. You're going Murray State. In Los Angeles, we're both going UTSA. In Auburn, we're both going Auburn. In Chapel Hill, both going UNC. In Corvallis, we're both going Oregon State. And in Louisville, both going with the Louisville Cardinal. And really quickly, Haberson, we've got lines out for game 1s of all of these supers. As you'd expect, the favorites in the supers are the favorites in game 1. So UNC -1.5, Louisville -1.5, Florida State -1.5 at Oregon State. Interestingly enough,
Jamie Arnold mound though.
That's what I'm saying. Auburn -1.5 against Coastal. Duke -2.5 against Murray State. And I actually lied, Harrison. Let me see, unless I'm not. Yeah, we do not have, for whatever reason, I'm not seeing a line for the LSU game. So maybe still releasing those.
Couillon cooking.
Couillon cooking. Maybe they're still actually, excuse me. Just clicked. Those games don't start till Saturday. That's my bad.
Why,
That's my bad. Yeah, that's why we don't have those. So tomorrow on Friday, they will have those out. Harrison, before we get out of here, and we're going to take some questions, obviously, I want to throw a curveball at you I didn't have planned. Golden Spikes presented by our friends over at Chinook. Shout out Chinook Seeds, who's been with us this entire season. Of course, if you do not know, they are the presenting sponsor of the USA Golden Spikes, USA Baseball Golden Spikes Award, which probably one of my favorite things you ever done, Harrison, is point out the fact that the Golden Spikes can actually go to any baseball player in the country. It doesn't have to be D1, but it always
any amateur athlete.
But it always does go D1. But it can, which is just an interesting fact that I don't think people would really understand. Anyways, Golden Spikes finalists were announced. Wahiwa Aloy from Arkansas, Liam Doyle from Tennessee, and Alex Lodis from Georgia Tech.
No, Florida State.
Florida State,
Florida State shortstop. Kyle Lodis is the shortstop of Georgia Tech.
Lodis, yes, I'm getting my Lodises mixed up. So, of those 3, thoughts on the finalists, and if you had a vote, who are you going with?
Who says I don't have a vote?
Maybe you do have a vote. I don't know. I don't know your life.
So I think it's the right 3, to be honest with you. I mean, I just think it feels like an overwhelmingly dominant Division I athlete. I mean, I think one of the best and most recent memories is Max Clark, who could have had a shot at it in high school. And obviously he went first round very high up. But I think you got the right 3 guys, Wahiwa Aloy, Liam Doyle, and Alex Lodis. And I just find it hard to believe that it's not going to be an everyday player. But if it's not going to be an everyday player, so it's going to be a pitcher, I think Liam Doyle has one of the best shots, outside of Paul Skeens or like a Steven Strasburg. But I just think the impact that an everyday player has at this high level, the Golden Spikes finalist, is just so much more important to a club and to a team. So I'm not going to, lean one way or the other, because I could see it going either way, but I'd say it's probably, I think the vote's probably going to lean towards Wahiwa Aloy.
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. And that's probably who I'd vote for as well. So it takes, we saw it with the Paul Skeens year. It takes a lot for a pitcher. Paul Skeens didn't win the Golden Spikes, man.
It's crazy.
His teammate
can't win it.
Yeah, you have to be virtually insane as a pitcher. And Liam
Hagen
Doyle
Smith was a finalist too.
Who was? Oh, yeah, Hagen Smith. Yes. Hagen Smith was, and he obviously lost to Charlie Condon. Yeah, I think it's going to be Wahiwa Aloy's award. That'd probably be my vote too, to be honest, if I had one. But yeah, anyways, interestingly enough, all 3 guys deserving, but Aloy feels like the clear-cut choice. And I think he will be the choice. I'd be surprised if it was not him. So shout out to our guys over at Chinook. Again, the presenting sponsors. He also points out, by the way, Harrison, that There have been 2 JUCO winners. One of them, Bryce Harper, won the Golden Spikes as a 16-year-old freshman
Bryce
in
Harper
college.
should not have been in junior college. Let's get that straight. But he did play with a wood bat in junior
Why
college.
should he not have been in junior college?
Because he was too good to play junior. He wanted to get drafted faster. That's why.
I mean,
that's why. And he
did he break any rules?
He got his GED.
Did he break any rules?
What?
Did he break any rules?
No, I'm saying he was too talented to play in junior college. And he graduated early, got his GED, enrolled early as a freshman in college, played with a wooden bat out in Arizona, I believe. It was Arizona, Nevada, one of the two, and proved that he could still beat everybody and was better than anyone with a wooden bat, playing with everyone else with metal bats. So there is rumors, Chris, circulating that he did hit over a 500-foot home run that I cannot confirm nor deny at that age.
I wonder if in the NIL era, if Bryce Harper would have gone to an SEC school.
Where was he committed to? Where would he actually?
I don't know. But he's from Las Vegas, so that's why the JUCO he went to made sense. I don't know. I just wonder.
He went to College of Southern Nevada. That's where it was.
College of Southern Nevada. Shout out to
CSN, baby.
Whatever their mascot is. So, Harrison, let's get into a few questions before we get out of here. Mac says, let's say Arkansas gets wrecked by Tennessee. Another disappointing exit with probably the best team Arkansas has had. Does Dave Van Horn stick around? I mean, where's he going?
Yeah, was he going to retire?
I mean, he did mention to the Creighton coach, I'm not far behind you when it comes to retirement. But I mean, 2 things. Number 1, I don't think that means he's retiring tomorrow. Number 2, I mean, he's not. He's on the other, he's on the back 9 of his career. I don't think anybody can even argue that. So, but I don't think I've seen nothing that would give any indication. Arkansas folks know a lot better than I would or you would, but I've seen nothing that indicates that he's thinking about hanging it up. So, Dave says, Arkansas is the better team top to bottom. Tennessee is the scarier of the two. No doubt the pressure's on the Hogs. I do think, Harrison, I don't know if the team embodies this, but I do think just from a standpoint of evaluating this series, the fan bases, the programs, I do think there's more pressure on Arkansas. I do.
Yeah, well, with that, Chris.
I do.
If they can't get it done this year.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. When you win a national title, again, internally and with Tony Vitello and they're applying pressure on themselves to win. They're not looking at it oh yeah, it's all good, no biggie. But when you win a natty, you buy yourself some time. You got it. You got your natty. You got it.
Chris, I'll say this, especially playing at home, a lot of pressure, but pressure's a privilege.
It is. It is. I just, again, I'm not even saying, it obviously didn't affect him in the regionals. I'm not even saying that. Who knows? I think this team, one of the biggest benefits for Arkansas is it's like I talked about last week. It's not a bunch of guys, I think, trying to rectify the previous season.
Or play above where they've been playing. Yeah.
Right. They're just being themselves, and they're a really good club, and that's all they need to be. So
I want to throw this one up there. Appreciate the comment, Dave. I should be an announcer.
An auctioneer.
Or an auctioneer.
Yeah.
I could do that. I could so do that. I could spit and ramble. It'd be like rolling tongue.
Gomaha says this: if I'm an LSU fan, I'd much rather face the Vols than the Hogs. Put it that way. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, it's tough. That's tough. I'd rather face neither one of them.
Yeah. Let's see. Daily Joy, Harrison thinks we're going to win. We're going 3 games, so we're winning it in 2 for sure. Speaking on LSU, West Virginia.
The amount of confidence she has, who knows? She said that they were going to sweep through the regional too. Just saying.
It's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. Max says, let me introduce you to Baton Rouge weather, Chris. Yeah, because I said that about the rain delays. So a lot of LSU fans in the chat. Really appreciate y'all. It's a lot of LSU fans in the chat.
Randall, LSU would have the advantage over anyone in the first 2 games. You would think with the pitching they have, but
yeah,
never know.
Those would be great matchups.
Never know.
If and when LSU comes out of their super, we're going to get an SEC on SEC. I believe that's how the bracket sets up in Omaha to open things up.
Hey, watch out. Rogers says, watch out for West Virginia. He's hearing it. There's some buzz around it. Some buzz around the Mountaineers on the road. I'm telling you. We have Auburn folks as well. Gorgeous Bread says War Eagle. Excited to watch War Eagle this weekend.
to be 504. Nobody's talking about the defense. West Virginia only fields 962, which is not good. Not good defensively.
Not very good.
They'll have to play much better defense to beat a really good LSU.
West Virginia will melt in the Cajun heat.
I'm sure it's going to be a hot weekend.
EAUX.
Yeah, bro. Just John Bro.
Bro.
That's John Bro. Anything else? Any more? Anything else?
Well, I like this one.
Here,
hey,
what do you got?
In regards to LSU, they better start making those jello shots now.
They've been making those for weeks. There's no question. Chinook, I want to highlight this. Chris wearing a nice brown, the color of brown you get after the dirt is drug and wet before pregame. Yeah, channeling the beautiful infields that we'll see this weekend. So thought I'd mix it up. And no hat. Thought I'd mix it up.
Yeah, no hat. Someone said that was a jump scare almost.
Yeah, keep you on your toes right before we go to Omaha.
There was one more I want to pull up. Here we go. Chinook, the football helmet streak has been up there with Cal Ripken's games played, Joe DiMaggio's hit streak, and the 7 no-hitters by Nolan Ryan. I cannot agree more.
Well, I mean, listen. Had a conversation with Chinook on the Friday live stream watch along that we did last week, and he actually made a good point. Save it for Omaha because it changing up the mojo going into supers. I mean, we've had this same mojo all season. I don't know if you want to be messing with the mojo right now.
Should have done it for postseason baseball.
Well, per sources, the Amazon order is on the way.
I cannot confirm nor deny that. Don't worry, chat.
Per sources, just saying. Things are happening. On that note, things are happening. Yeah, on that note, things are happening. A couple things, Harrison. Number one, live stream watch along will be happening again this weekend. Appreciate y'all that have tuned into those. Those have been a blast. Again, just kind of Friday night spikes on steroids. Probably won't be on Friday night, though. I know it's a change up. Friday night spikes typically are a thing.
Pun intended.
Only one SEC Super going on Friday night. So I think it makes a lot more sense in my personal opinion. I haven't talked to Harrison or the guys about this. And no pressure for them to jump on because it'd be during the weekend. But I think it makes a lot more sense to go live and watch the games when all 3 supers are being played, SEC supers, versus just one. So stay tuned. We're probably going to be rocking and rolling live stream watch along either Saturday or on Sunday. One of those two. So just stay tuned. We'll let you guys know what the deal is. Also, stay tuned. A massive announcement dropping on Monday in regards to the College World Series and a special event that probably many of you tuned in already know, but we'll be dropping the news of what we'll be doing out there. Going to be a lot of fun as we literally gear up next week to hit the road to Omaha, Nebraska. Guys, content leading out of the eyeballs. We can't say thank you enough. Harrison, in closing, any final remarks before we get into the Super Regional weekend and find out who the 8 are that will be in Omaha?
Chris, 6 months into the season, everyone had an opportunity. Everyone had a chance. Everyone's hopes, dreams, and aspirations of going to the mecca of college baseball, that is Omaha, Nebraska, in what feels like the middle of nowhere, feels right at home, come late June. 64 into the postseason tournament, 16 remain, only 8 can go. We're about to find out who those 8 are. And I'm stoked for it, and I can't wait to get back to Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah, and over 300 began the season with those hopes and dreams, and we're down to the final 16. It is crazy, and it's going to be an electric weekend. And again, guys, we appreciate all of you. Like I said, stay tuned to all the content this weekend, all the live stream, watch-along stuff. Stay tuned also for when the wind-up will be happening next week, depending on the schedule. If we do have some games, some supers, if you will, that go to, if necessary, games on Monday, it'll probably be like last week. We'll push to Tuesday. Harrison would guarantee we're going to go on Tuesday because there's just no way every super wraps up before Monday. So, again, we'll let you know in that regard, and all the content happening this weekend, man. Going to be a lot of fun. So, again, appreciate you all tuning in, guys. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Harrison Fant, I'm Chris Phillips. This is the Wind-Up, SEC Unfiltered's bi-weekly college baseball show, the best college baseball show on the internet. Enjoy Super Regional weekend. We'll talk to y'all this weekend. Till then, y'all take care. Peace.